Okay, so let's get into a nice little tour of the park. Um, this is Lake Mineral Wells State Park, and just to give you a location of where um, we are located just west of Fort Worth, and we are located in an area that we're trying to preserve and we're trying to protect, and that's what state parks do. It's called the Cross Timbers of Texas, an eco-region, the Cross Timbers, and so we represent this area of post oak, uh, blackjack oak woodlands in the unique area of the Cross Timbers. A little closer view is we are west of Weatherford and just east of Mineral Wells. I'll give you a map of the park so to let you know what the layout of the park looks like, and then we'll go to different areas on the map and tell you the features of the park. Let's start out with the lake. So the lake is about 400 acres and all within the boundaries of the park. And that is significant because you have a unique lake that has no development around it. It's all that ancient Cross Timbers woodlands that's around there. And so when you're out on the lake, you see the pristine nature of the area. On the lake, you can swim, and we have a nice protected swimming area there. You can also do some boating, kayak, canoe, and kind of rowboat, sailboat, even motorized boats are allowed with a reasonable speed limit. One thing that we don't have is that we don't have any boats towing skiers or tubers or any personal watercraft, powered personal watercraft on the lake because it's too small. So that makes it nice for the kayakers and the canoers. We also have fishing. So you can fish in a state park without a fishing license. And you can join these three boys here and fish on the lake from the shore, but you can also go out in your boat and fish without a license because it's with all, the lake is all within the boundaries of the park. And so that means it's all access is no fishing license required on the lake. In our main boat ramp fishing area, we have our park store. And so if you need bait or fishing equipment or want to rent a boat to take out on the lake, or you may have forgot some of your accessories for camping, they have it in the store there for you. In a nice little historic building on there on the side of the lake. Let's talk about our overnight camping. So we have main three areas of overnight camping are here, kind of on the east side of the west side of the lake. So we have a post oak camping area, a live oak camping area, and a plateau camping area. Let's start out with post oak. This is going to be an area where we have water available to you. This is, we don't have any electricity in this area for tent camping, but we do have fresh water running piped into the site. The camping area, the water only camping area is $14 a night. And of course, that's with a entrance fee of $7 per person. Now, you don't have to pay that $7 per person if you buy an annual state pass. And so that's a $70 for an individual, but everyone in that vehicle that individual is in gets into the park, entrance fees into the park for free. So it's $14 a night for water only. Tent camping area, post oak. Now you get to our live oak and our plateau camping area. We have water and electricity, so you can hook up that RV and to the water and electricity and turn on that air conditioner. As we all know, we really need this time of year. But we have a plateau camping area that has a 30 amp hookup for certain kinds of RVs. That is $24 a night. And we also have a live oak camping area with a 50 amp hookup for larger camping trailers for $26 a night. And so those are our camping facilities that you can for overnight. But if you don't have a camper or you don't have a tent, you can still stay overnight in our screen shelter area. It's over here by the dam. And we have screen shelters that you can stay the night in. Let me show you a picture. There's a picture of a screen shelter. It is basically just a shell of a building with screen sides, and you bring your own camping equipment. There's a picnic table inside. We have water outside, electricity inside, and so you can be comfortable without a camper or a tent in our screen shelter area. Also in this area, we have a group dining hall. This is a kitchen and an open area with tables and chairs that you can bring your group out and spend the day. And so a lot of times it's family reunions or organizations will bring the group out to spend the day there. Sometimes we have people reserve the screen shelters, stay overnight, and then during the day, they use the dining hall for their meeting area. So that is $180 a day for the dining hall in that area there. So let's go to another overnight area. This is called our Cross Timbers camping area. And Cross Timbers camping area is very unique because it is designed to camp with your horses. So you can bring your horses and camp in this area, and you're right next to our Cross Timbers trail, Cross Timbers trail area, which you can ride your horses on. Now, you don't have to have horses to camp in this area. You can just tent camp next to the trail in this area, but it is designed for horses if you have them. And very easy access to the Cross Timbers trail area. So let's look at that Cross Timbers trail area. So this is a big area. Matter of fact, it's the biggest part of the park is our trails. Over 10 miles of trails back here in this area. And it is a nice trails that go through the Cross Timbers eco region, and you get to see hike, and you can mountain bike, or you can ride your horses on this trail. We also have a primitive area where you can camp back in there. It's a 2-mile trail back to it, and it is completely primitive, no restrooms or anything like that. And you can hike back there to it. What these guys are doing here, they're backpacking back to our primitive areas on our Cross Timbers trail. But that is the biggest part of our park is that trail system, hike, bike, and equestrian. One of our best natural features in the park, and what a lot of people come to the park to see, is our Penitentiary Hollow area. And this is on the west side or the east side of the lake, opposite from our camping area, and is a day use area. We have a picnic sites over there and a very unique area of sandstone rock that with cliffs 40 feet high, very unusual for North Central Texas. And so just a great place to picnic, but also to hike. So here you go, we're down in Penitentiary Hollow. You can see the walls of sandstone rock and little slot canyons and an overlook area here where you can get on top and look over the lake. Just a beautiful place, beautiful, natural, unique structure in North Texas, unlike any other place in North Texas, I do believe. And because we have these nice tall cliffs, we also allow rock climbing. So we allow rock climbing in this area. We have a few regulations that we want you to do. There's a $3 fee to rock climb, and you need to have all the right equipment and follow our climbing rules. But we do allow people to rock climb in this area, and you can hike through the area or rock climb or watch the rock climbers that are down there. But just a beautiful, unique, picturesque place for in north central Texas, unlike any other place in that part of Texas. We do have another area back to the camping side of the lake. We have a area for wildlife viewing. So this little area back behind the plateau camping area, we have little trails out to two different sites where you can view the wildlife. This first one is our bird blind. This is where we feed and water the birds. It attracts them in, and you get to stand behind this little protected wall here and look through and see some of the birds. Some of the birds in the area that you can see, we pictured here. All of these bird pictures were taken here in the park, and outstanding birding in this particular area. We also have another area, wildlife viewing blind, that is an old water pump structure from back in the history of the lake. And we have repurposed this into a wildlife viewing blind. So you can go in there and have a seat, look out over the lake and see the wildlife there. From the lake side, it looks like this. So we have all the animals that are used to that scene, and you sit inside there and you can even see this little American coot down here that's swimming along the lake, plus all kinds of other birds and all kinds of other wildlife that you can see from that area. Here are some more photos of birds that we have taken in this area. All these pictures were taken from the wildlife viewing area. We also have a very unique area for the cross timbers of Texas. This is a red trail on our lakefront trail that's on next to Penitentiary Hollow down there. And if you take this trail down into this part of the park, you are going into what we call an ancient cross timbers woodlands. So basically you're going into an area that has not been disturbed by any kind of settlers or anything. It was a unique place where it wasn't good for grazing, wasn't good for plowing, and it is undisturbed. So when you go into this area, you are seeing what the cross timbers of Texas looked like 200 to 300 years ago before European settlers came in. So you get a unique look at this part of Texas by going down this trail. It also leads into a Penitentiary Hollow. So a nice little trail, then you get into that unique rock feature. And here is a picture of how lush this area is, undisturbed. This is the way this part of Texas looked 300 years ago. All right, and over to that same side of the park, we have an area of our Lake Mineral Wells trailhead. Now, we haven't talked about the trailway much, so let's talk about that. We also have our amphitheater down here in this area, but our trailway, this is an access point to the state trailway. So let's talk about the trailway. Here is a map of the trailway. So the trail was an old railroad corridor. It was a railroad that came from Weatherford into Mineral Wells, and it was abandoned. And so we turned it into a trail. And so it is maintained by the park. We have a trailhead in Mineral Wells itself, downtown, in the city of Mineral Wells, also one out here in Weatherford, and they're 20 miles away. So that's a 20-mile trail. We also have a little trail head in the middle of the trail at Garner, a little town called Garner, and you can access the trail there, or you can access it from the state park. And you can see how long it is. That's the entire state park right there. You can access it from the state park and get down to the trailway. So here is our trail head at Weatherford. You can access the trail. Also, our trailhead in downtown Mineral Wells, where the railroad line used to come. Here we have some features. We have some things that you can see, like the last rolling stock that was on the railroad when it was a rail line. The old caboose is still there. We have a replica of the water tank that used to fill the steam engines in the very location it was there. And we also have a unique way of showing the history of this rail line and the history of the town of Mineral Wells. So we have these informative signs, we call them interpretive signs, that tell you the history of the town, how the town got here, what's unique about the town and the mineral water, and then the railroad coming into the town, the effects of the railroad to the town, and also how it was changed from a railroad to a walking trail. And here's a picture of the trail itself. And so you can see finely crushed sandstone, very smooth and flat surface. You can hike on. Here's some kids from an elementary school that the trail goes by, and they're biking on the trail. That's their teacher biking on the trail. So it has access to this elementary school, so they can use the trail. Also, a horseback. You can take on parts of the trail, you can take and ride your horses down the trail. So that's our state trailway that we maintain as part of the park. We also have an amphitheater in that same area. So at our trailhead in the park, we have an amphitheater where we do different kinds of programs to help to preserve our nature and our history of the cross timbers. And so all kinds of programs here, nature programs, programs about the sounds of at night, all kinds of programs here for the public to come and enjoy. We also do historic programs. And so we do some of the preserving our cowboy heritage that is really strong in the cross timbers. And so we do this by storytelling and other kind of historic programs like that. So if we're going to talk about what we provide for the public in education, we also do school groups. So we have school groups come out, and we participate with the teachers to help them to learn in a natural setting. We do nature hikes, but we also do history. So here is a program that we have a lightweight but full-size teepee that the kids can build. Of course, we teach them how to build it, but they make a connection with the Native American culture by building the structure they lived in. And they get so excited when they get to build the teepee and go inside. So we do school groups too for our education programs. Also, we have ranger guided hikes for birding. And like I said, all these photographs were taken in the park here. So we'll teach you how to bird and how to enjoy the birds. Also, wildflower hikes. So we'll take you around and show you the different wildflowers. And wildflowers are a big thing in Texas and a big thing in the park. We've got a lot of different varieties in the park. And so we'll take you on those wildflower hikes. We also have a pretty dark night sky. And so one of the best features of Texas is our night sky. The stars at night are big and bright, right? So we have some stargazing events at the park and give people an opportunity to see the night sky in a dark setting away from the city lights. Taking kids on hikes and all kinds of ranger-led hikes through the park. I think this one may be a school group or maybe a kids wilderness survival walk where we teach kids what to do in case they get lost, and how to get along out there in the woods. So we've got all kinds of things going on out here at the park. And oh yeah, I forgot about the Penitentiary Hollow walk. We have an area in Penitentiary Hollow that is closed off to the public. Actually, it's just no hiking trails and no rock climbing in this area. And during the wintertime, we have a guided hike back into this area where we crawl through caves, squeeze through some tight places, and do just an adventurous hike through some of the sandstone structures here in Penitentiary Hollow. So there is a tour of the park, and I think now we're going to have Rose do a little video, I hope. I'll let somebody else take over.
All right, so let me see if I can share screen. Yes, it looks like I can. Okay, are you guys seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go big. So I am, I don't know if we introduced, but that was David, who is our park interpreter, by the way. And so he's actually that ranger that takes you on the guided hikes and does the programs. We'll see more of him in this video. I'm Rose Jordan. I'm the director of tourism for Mineral Wells, but I'm also a park host at the state park. And so David is kind of my boss at the state park. So, all right, we're gonna hop on the gator. It's a huge park. We're not gonna do a walking tour. We're gonna do a quick tour on the gator, but we got some fun stuff to show you. So let me make this bigger and we will go. So this is the entrance where you'll come in, and we have a friendly, okay, also a park host, my husband. But if you come in after hours, there is a self-pay station here that you can see. And so lots of information. So David mentioned that we have a day use side and a camping side. We're actually going to start on the day use side because at the end, we're going to end with something really special that not a lot of people get to see. So we're going to head up to the amphitheater, and we're not taking you for the whole drive because these are really long roads. But we're going to start out at the amphitheater. And this is where you saw the big telescopes here in the parking lot. In fact, just last weekend, we had a stargazing event here. And so you'll just kind of see. So this is the big amphitheater parking lot. Again, it's the trailhead that David mentioned out to the state trailway. And we're going to take you down part of this little trailway to first the amphitheater. And so there are lots of programs down here. David mentioned several of them. We have you saw him in his cowboy attire. We'll see more of that in just a second. But this is just a peek across at the actual amphitheater. You can see down there, this is David doing the cowboy campfire poetry and stories, which is, I think, David, correct me, I think this might be one of your most popular and most attended programs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see that. This is the snake's friend or foe, which you can't really see because it hasn't gotten dark yet. All right, now we're going to head on down to see some of the trailway, that 20-mile trailway that David was talking about. From the park down to the actual trailway, some just really great views. And you're actually going down, you can't tell from this, but we're actually going downhill the whole way until we get to the trailway, but the views are just really beautiful out here. And you can see the terrain is a little bit, this isn't that crushed granite even surface, but it's not bad. And then this is the bridge. This is part of that trailway. This is the bridge that goes over Highway 180. And so it's kind of a fun little feature, and it's really pretty here. We're not going to take you on the whole trailway, but this particular piece where we're going is going to take you on the backside of the National Vietnam War Museum. And you can see the flags, and you'll see the the helicopter here in just a second. And so the back of this actually does have an entrance onto the National Vietnam War Museum. And then at the trailhead, it will take us over to Clark Gardens too. So we're back up on the day use side. This is one of the areas that you can go. It's got the picnic tables and the grills, all of the loops, the day use and the camping loops. They all have a trailhead down to one of the trails. You'll see that in a second. And then at the restrooms, you'll find up on the wall signs telling you what programs are happening. So that's always good information. That's the trailhead there down to the red trail that David was talking about. And then he mentioned Penitentiary Hollow. So we're gonna just take a little look around. And it is really pretty up here. Lots of really great views, but one thing to note is if you're going to hike out here, make sure you have good hiking shoes. And you can tell I'm walking here and it's not really steady. It is pretty rocky, and there are places where it does get strenuous. And then this is just a quick look at the canyon, but we're going to get a better look at it in just a second. So another thing to note is if you're going to go hiking down here, make sure you have plenty of water. This is observation point, which David showed us, and we're just going to kind of see what it looks like going from the top down, and then from the down back up. You can see some kayakers, and off in the distance is one of those wildlife viewing areas that David was showing us. And so we're going to turn back around and go up from one of the fishing piers. This is that lush cross timber forest that David was telling us about. And then this is that canyon. That's Penitentiary Hollow, an overhead look, which doesn't look like much, but it really is pretty great down inside. These are the stairs that'll take you down into Penitentiary Hollow. And it's a little deceptive because these are pretty steep. So again, make sure you have really great walking shoes and good balance. This is down in the canyon. Somebody built a fun little stacked rock structure, but it's really peaceful down here. Really close-up views of that ancient forest land. And then this is a tree that everybody just loves to get pictures of. Amazingly, it just continues to grow out of those rocks. This is obviously rock climbing, and what you see here is Adam Mitchell with the Rock About Climbing, and you can schedule with him a session and he'll teach you. And then this is again one of those wild walks that David was telling us about, where people are just squeezing through. And we have first hikes here. So if you want to start the new year right, you can do a hike with David down there in the Penitentiary Hollow. And we're going to head back down to that swimming and boat launch area, just to kind of give you a feel for that. So it is a really pretty area here. People love to fish down here. Obviously, that's where the boat launch is. That's the main boat launch. You can also launch your kayaks and things there. And then the camp store, just kind of an aerial sort of view of it. And he did mention that you can rent kayaks, canoes, paddle boats, mini pontoon boats. This is where you would do that and where you would launch from. So we've just got people out there enjoying the water. And then this pier is out behind the camp store, park store, and it's a lighted pier. So you can fish from here in the evenings after dark. So we're going to head across the spillway over to the camping side. This is kind of a fun spot. If there's been a lot of rain, this is what it looks like. And your car actually at some point goes below water level, which can be a little unnerving at first. If we get a ton of rain, this is what it looks like. And note that if this happens, they're going to close the spillway and they'll give campers directions for a different access through the back so that you're not trying to drive across that, obviously. So we're going to continue on. That's some of those shelters. That's the shelter area. And we're going to go in and get a little bit closer look. But this is just crossing the spillway. So these are going to be some of the shelters that David mentioned. Some of them are down closer to the water. The ones that we're looking at here, they're raised up a little bit, but they do have really pretty views of the lake. And he did mention that you can bring tents in and camp there. We're just going to take a quick little tour around the loop, let you just kind of get a feel for what those look like. And as I mentioned, all the camping loops and the day use loops, they all have access to the trails. So this one you'll see in just a second has a trailhead that goes down into the Blue Trail. And the Blue Trail is kind of one of my favorites because it runs along the water and it has all these really pretty views. So there's that trailhead. And we're going to take a look. This is that dining hall that David mentioned. I believe capacity is 70 or 75. I know that gets asked a lot. That's one of our little take it, leave it libraries. But I'm taking you around the back just so you can see the views, because the back of the dining hall is all windows. And so it's looking out over this. And again, that's that trailhead to the blue. That Civic League guideline that you're seeing across there. And then these stairs that go down to the water, which seems a little random, but when they were built historically, they had a purpose. And so now we're going to go up and start to see some of those camping areas. We're going to start out going up the hill here to the Cross Timbers camping area. And some of the fun things about here, and it's a bit of a drive going up, but one of the fun things about it is we actually right about in this area back in the fall, it seems like we saw 6 black river otters crossing the road here to go down the mountain, which it was really a sight. So this is that equestrian camping area, and you can see it's got those turnouts where the parking is so that your trailers can turn out. And then we're going to hop on over to the this is the Cross Timbers Trail, or the backcountry trails. So you're going to see a lot of different things, a lot of different surfaces here. There are places where like this, it's fairly even out, and it runs along the backside of the old Fort Walters. So you'll get just a quick look here at some of the old ammunitions bunkers. And then again, here it is, the terrain is actually pretty easy, but as we progress, you'll start to see where it gets really rocky. And so you do want to make sure that you've got good hiking shoes that you're wearing, carry plenty of water. There are miles of trails back here. So we're actually going to continue on in this direction just because we're going to show you kind of some of the wide open areas and some of the unique terrain that's out here. But this is really popular for the hiking and biking. And remember, David showed that big section of trails up on the north end. This is that. So there are places where it opens up like this and you've got a lot of views. And then this is some of that really, you can't tell it really from the picture, but we were in the gator and at times we were sideways going over this. So just make sure that you are prepared for whether you're coming out on a bike or horses or foot, that you're prepared for that. So we're going to head back down the mountain and go to the other camping areas. David showed you more of the post oak and the live oak. We're really just going to kind of drive by them. And you'll see why in just a minute. So here we're at the bottom of the hill. We're going to take a left, and the first that will pass, oh, it's really slow, sorry. All right, let's turn. So the first one that we're going to pass is post oak, and again, David mentioned those. So we're not going to go in. And then we've got live oak here. And then the next thing we're going to see is, well, the facilities. We won't talk about that. But if you have an RV, you know what that's for. And then we have this, the big fire ring here. If remember that where David showed us the big teepee was set up. So this is the big fire ring that was down here. This is also one of the places where we do the stargazing, lots of wide open areas. So it gives us a nice view of the sky. But there are lots of events down here. You can see the little stage and the huge fire ring and seating. So different kinds of gatherings happen there. And now we're headed to the last camping loop, which is Plateau. And we're actually going in this one for a couple of reasons, but it's got several features. There is another trailhead that goes out to the Blue Trail. This is a canoe and kayak launch. So if you don't want to launch up top, you can launch your small vessels down here. But one of the things about Plateau is more of the camping spaces in Plateau are actually on the water. So you can launch right from your campsite. And we have those. One of the projects that my husband and I did is identify all of those. So if you want to know which ones have water access, they have that list and can help you kind of find the right spots. So And then there's my little dog and his watering bowl for the neighbor dogs. But we're gonna take a stop right here at the restroom and go back behind to look at those wildlife viewing areas that David was talking about. If you go with him on the bird walks, you're gonna actually visit both of these. But this is the one, the first one directly behind the restroom. And it's a really great place. So we have a volunteer that comes and feeds the birds so that they'll come hang out here and you can get kind of an up close look at them. And you can't hear it in the background, but this is during one of the bird walks. And so David's actually talking about the different birds and the things that we're seeing here. And this is in the winter. And then that trail also leads over to the other one that David mentioned, the old structure from the water pump thingy. Very technical, but I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit more look at that. It's a really neat place to just go in and sit. It tends to be really peaceful. This cove over by Plateau Loop tends to be really calm and really peaceful. So it's a fun place to just sit and watch for the birds. It's got an interpretive panel up in here to kind of help you see what you might expect. It does have the beaver and the birds. That one of those is the great blue heron, and he hangs out here a lot. So do the beavers, and we'll show you one of their lodges here in just a minute. And that looks out across at the Penitentiary Hollow. So we mentioned some of the birds, and these guys apparently don't know that they belong here, but this is an Egyptian goose family. So if you want to come out and see birds, this is on the spillway. It's not uncommon to see either Canadian geese or the yellow-crowned night herons here on the spillway. And then I just love this guy because he just always seems so happy and he's dancing, but just a from the water view of things that you can see. This is over kind of on the west wall. But now we're going to take you actually on the water and tour around because we have some fun things to show you. I mentioned that beaver lodge. If you look up under that tree, all that kind of messy scruff, that's a beaver lodge. So it's not uncommon to hear or see the beaver down here working. This is kind of where he hangs. And then the otters are down here too a lot of times. And then this is a water view of that wildlife viewing area. And it's a lot of time, if you are a beginner canoeing and kayaking, coming down to this launch is great because it tends to be calmer. That happened to be a really windy day, but it tends to be a lot calmer down in that cove. So it's a really great place for people to kind of get a feel for the balance of a canoe or kayak or paddleboard without the wake of boats or it's not generally as windy down in the cove. So this is the sandbar. It's on the north end of the lake, and it leads into the creek, hidden Rock Creek. And a lot of people call it Hidden Creek because it can be tricky to find, but it's really peaceful on the creek. Once you turn the bend, it's mostly shaded. It's not windy there. A lot of birds are just hanging out. So it's just a really peaceful kind of mellow place. If you just want to hop on your kayak and chill for the day, you can actually go up a good ways on the creek. But this is the big surprise or the big special treat. This is the Lost Lake. And not a lot of people know it's there, and even fewer people have ever seen it. But if you know how to get into it from Rock Creek, then you can actually, if the water's up, kayak right onto the Lost Lake. So that is our tour. We're going to head back across the spillway and take one last look at Civic League Island and the rest of the lake. But there's your moving tour of Lake Mineral Wells State Park. And David, somebody asked what the purpose of those stairs are back behind the dining hall, and you told me, but I can't remember exactly.
Okay, where the dining hall is now, before it was a state park, and it was a lake, a city park actually. There was a building there, and it was called the Fireman's Lodge, and the building went down to that level, and you went out the back door of that building, down the stairs to the lake, and they had a little floating dock down there. And so that's kind of a historic structure from way back in the 30s.
All right, Erin.
Nice. Well, we also had another question. It was, are e-bikes allowed in the state park and on the state trailway?
Yes, the pedal assist bicycles are motorized, like uh, mopeds, things like that are not, but the pedal assist bicycles are.
Okay, then. Well, I'll go ahead and give a little information while we wait for any more questions to come in. Oh, we have another question. Are all the structures CCC built?
Uh, uh, Pretty much, they were built in the 30s by a government organization. Some of them are WPA, some of them are CCC, some of them are an organization that came prior to CCC called the CWA, and it was only around for about a year and was incorporated into the CCC. So all of them were government buildings built by the government New Deal era.
Oh, nice. Um, uh, so thank you again. We have no further questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you again for both David and Rose and for our audience. All right, then everybody have a great day.